So this is Cisco Defense Orchestrator, which is the cloud environment where our cloud-delivered FMC lives. Cisco Defense Orchestrator can do stuff beyond FMC. So when you first sign in, you don't necessarily see the FMC screen directly. But down here, what you could do is go down and say, hey, I'm going to manage my FTD policies. And at this point, it's going to pivot you into something that hopefully looks and feels exactly like what you're used to. This is a shared cloud demo environment, so please ignore the out-of-date firewalls. There are generally, we're apparently 39 right now demoing this globally, so it's always in flux a little bit. But in general, we have the same look and feel, right? So we have our access control policies. Right, this looks just like the ones that you would use in your on-prem FMC. If this interface looks different in general, it's actually because in 7.2 we rolled out a new UI. So this would probably look more familiar to a lot of you. This kind of overview here. I won't pivot back. I wanted to clarify that so you guys can think this looks very different. Yeah, I love this new interface. There's a lot of cool little bells and whistles under the hood, such as being able to hide any columns that maybe I don't have rule definitions in, which is pretty cool. I can do, I am a read-only user, so some of this is kind of locked out in this demo environment, but I can do some really cool stuff around bulk editing. I can do searching for rules up here, and it will like hide all the rules that don't match my filter. So there's a bunch of cool little bells and whistles under the hood there. Huh? You can hide the rules in the You can, yeah. Yeah, it's done more automatically in this one. So anyway, yeah, looks I think very similar, right? I mean, it literally is a lot of the same code, so it should look identical to you guys. If we go to the device management screen, for instance, we're going to see all of our devices like normal. Health monitoring might be one to kind of show, just to show you guys that this is, it's all the same FMC that you're used to. It's just running as a cloud service now. There are a couple components that would be missing, and they're logical things. So, for instance, if I go to my settings on on-prem, I have kind of a whole like third column of things. And the things that are missing are kind of obvious if you think about it. Like, I don't update this FMC as a cloud service, so the updates where I would update it is one, right? I don't need to schedule config backups because the configuration backups are kind of inherently done by the cloud offering. So it's stuff like that that's missing. The other thing we've done that's a little bit different here is how we handle logging. So we have, if you exit the FMC and go back to the main CDO platform, we have a unified logging because you can also manage like ASAs through here. You can also manage umbrella firewall policies. Technically, if you wanted to, you can manage Meraki firewall policies if you have Meraki MS. So we have a unified event logging framework down here. I'll dismiss this little pop-up. So you get all the same logs. You can still view all the details of them and things like that, but it's in this kind of separate cloud-native place. Also, a little interesting thing that's unique to the cloud-delivered FMC is we have an optional integration with Secure Cloud Analytics, which was formerly known as StealthWatch Cloud. So if anyone is familiar with that, StealthWatch Cloud is classically, it is a framework where you can take all your NetFlow and feed it into this environment for all your routers and switches, and it will start doing behavioral kind of baselining of the different devices and do some analytics based on maybe changes in behavior, communications patterns, things like that from device to device as it understands what those devices are. So if you use our cloud-delivered FMC, you can optionally configure the logs from the firewalls to integrate with this kind of cloud analytics environment. And it can be a data source alongside all of your routers and switches, or even if you wanted it to be the only source of data, that's fine too. And this gives you a different kind of viewpoint of those logs, right? So as an example, your firewall has IPS rules, and if you get an IPS hit, I tried to hit a phishing site, right? Or someone tried to throw this attack at my web server, you get these kind of like in the moment type alerts. This can actually give you an alert such as, some of them would be overlapping like, hey, malicious URL or whatever, but like this one might be an interesting role violation. So this would be let it load here. What this would generally mean is that a device that is profiled as being something like, in this example, this is a Windows workstation. And then all of a sudden, we see it acting like an SSH server. Well, your firewall wouldn't alert on that. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with being either of those things. But this tool would be able to kind of baseline and realize, this is a Windows box. Why is it suddenly acting as an SSH server, which it's never done before, right? That would be a notable event. That's a behavioral change. So again, this is a separate product, but this is something you can integrate your firewall logs into with the cloud delivered FMC. So I will actually stop here and show you a couple short videos for pieces that, are not easy for me to kind of demo in my own lab and have constantly ready to go. So hopefully this will work here. So this would be how you onboard, or rather, I believe this is probably the title here, which is blocked for me. This is how you would migrate from FMC. So if I already have a firewall running on my local FMC, I want to move to the cloud, you go to this screen. If you connect your FMC to SecureX, it will show up in here. You can select it, and then it will show you all of the firewalls that are currently on your on-prem FMC. You can choose to retain your on-prem FMC long-term, just to get the logging data locally if you have a need to integrate it with the SIM or something. You kind of, a couple more clicks, and what it will do is it will migrate your FTD up into the cloud. It literally is this easy. It moves all of the device-specific configs. It moves all of the policies and objects and app rules, all that kind of stuff up into the cloud, and then it auto-deploys for you. And you'll see your migrated access control policy up here. This is in the cloud one, right? We'll see all of our devices up there, right? That's been moved. So it's pretty straightforward. I've actually done this myself. I migrated one of my lab FMCs up, and there's nothing hidden here. This is basically how it works. Once I've migrated, I have 2 weeks to make a decision here. Do I want to delete this firewall from the local FMC? Do I want to revert to the local? And maybe I'm just doing a test and I'm like, it's not for me. I'm going to stay on-prem. Or you can retain the local, and again, as an analytics, that's only FMC, where it's not managing policy, but it's getting the logs flowing back to it if you want to. And we have different customers with different needs. So you have 2 weeks to make that decision. After 14 days have elapsed, it assumes that you want to keep it permanently in the cloud. You can imagine waiting a year and saying, I want to move it back. I mean, there's been so much divergence by then between its definition that it's not possible. But it is easy to move into the cloud for on-prem management, or for cloud-delivered management. And it's easy to kind of roll it back within that trial period if you want. So, again, it almost looks like too easy, but I have tested it hands-on, and it does work that way. The other thing I'll show you that I think is super cool is how to onboard. Whoops, wrong button. How to onboard a brand new firewall. So I'm running in the cloud. I buy a new firewall from Cisco. How do I get it into the cloud? Like, what's that process look like? It's pretty cool. I wish you could do this with the local too. You click onboard device. You can choose to do a CLI registration key, or you can do it via serial number, which this is my favorite method. You basically just type in the serial number of that new firewall you got before you power it on. You give it a name that you want it to have when it powers on. And if that device is running 7.2 or later, which the new devices will be pre-imaged with, you also have, if the first time you log into a firewall, it's like you must change your password, so you define the password. You give it a default access control policy to use on day one. So you specify the subscription licenses in the next screen. Right, what licenses is it going to be using? And if the firewall is running 7.2 or later, when it's turned on for the first time, it actually, if it has a data connection on the outside data port, it will attempt to contact Cisco Defense Orchestrator. That's just something they all do now. And so it'll check in and it'll say briefly, hey, do you have an FMC in here that I belong to? And if you've typed in that serial number, the CDO will say, yep, you belong to this organization, and then it is auto-registered in. If you guys have used Meraki before, it's actually almost identical to how, like, onboarding a new Meraki access point or something would be, where you just kind of claim the serial number, and then it joins your your org at reboot or at first boot. If it's not on 7.2 for some reason, you could always like reimage it to 7.2 and then still have that kind of same zero touch provision. Also super cool for a remote site, right? I need to ship this to something location 2 hours away. I can just tell the tech down there to plug it into the internet and turn it on, and it's ready to go. So I've also tested that, and it does work as described. So very cool. That is again hopefully a fairly brief demo there of the cloud delivered FMC.